Welcome. We're officially going to get started now. My name is Chris Woolley. I'm your host, and this is Let's Develop. So if this is your first time joining us, welcome. This is a bi-weekly webinar series brought to you by American Color Imaging. And basically what we do is we reach out to super cool photographers that are very passionate about a subject, and they share information with us. So this is completely interactive. So if you do have any questions for James, put them into the chat and he can actually answer them for us. So that's kind of nice. We do have some prizes to give away, so stay tuned at the very end, and we'll be giving away some prizes as well as a special deal from American Color Imaging. And if you did happen to miss the last episode that we did, we had Sharon LaBelle on, and she was talking about doing photo adventures. So she went through kind of her travels to like Antarctica and Argentina. It was actually where she was calling in from for the webinar episode, and she was just sharing with us. So pretty cool. That replay is live, so you can check that one out. But we've got James here, and James is super, super cool guy. I first met him when we went to PPA's judging school together, learning about image competition that way. So that's how we very, very first met. And then I got to know his accomplishments and personality. And you'll get a little teaser of who James here is in just a moment. But he is extremely qualified. His bio was like a ridiculous length of time. Novels we're talking here. But he's a master photographer, CPP, master wedding photographer. Started in 2012 and basically just took the wedding world by storm. He's been a GIA finalist multiple times, been on the cover of PPA magazine. His awards are like too numerous to even get into right here. But the knowledge that he has, you're definitely going to want to listen to. So we've got James here. Hello, James.
Hey, Chris, how are you?
I'm doing well. That's quite the intro, huh?
Right. Yeah. No, I'm glad we finally got this working. I will note that like through this other platform, I've got a bunch of pop-ups that keep coming up. So I assume that everything's working okay on your end since the other link's going.
It looks like, yep, it's all working. We can see y'all nice and pretty. I'm looking back and forth because I'm on a couple of different screens here. So I'm going to try my best to juggle this one where we're going on. So we're talking clients here, clicking with your clients. So not only is it a photography pun, but we're also engaging with people. So what do we got for us today, James?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. So welcome, everybody. And like Chris was saying, definitely can be interactive, ask questions. Would love this to be kind of conversational at times. But, first question, like for people here in the audience currently is, are you a wedding photographer? How long have you been doing it? Do you do other types of photography? That sort of thing. It's just kind of an opening question. I think what we're looking to talk about this evening or this afternoon, I guess it depends where you are. I'm on the coast of Maine, so it's 8:12 here now. Is how to connect with your clients, especially if you're doing weddings, you're doing family, different things. I think it's super important to. I'm sorry, I keep getting these pop-ups, Chris.
Yeah.
Is everything still working?
Everything's working. I'm not sure what the pop-ups are, but we can see and hear you beautifully.
Okay, they're from the Web Ninja. It says I have to start presenting, and it keeps popping up, taking over the screen.
Probably because I invited you like 9 times.
Okay, so that must be it. All right, so, sorry, where was I? If you're in the business of weddings or families, that kind of thing, I find that personal connection to make all of our lives a lot easier as you're going through the process from booking straight to final delivery. So that's kind of what we wanted to discuss this evening. And, before getting into the process of why it's important to and kind of different ways to connect with your clients, I think we have to go back to the beginning to, both your business, setting some goals, and some of the things I want to touch base on throughout this next hour are, having some business goals set. What does your branding look like? How to handle inquiries, the client experience, and then really the wedding day and delivery and that sort of thing. So just so you know ahead of time, kind of where we're going and what we're looking to do. What's that?
That's a ton of information.
That's a ton of information. So we better get started.
Right.
Hello, kids. So, going back to the business end of things, as you're beginning to set all this up is, what are your expectations, for your business? Why are you doing it? Where do you want to see yourself in 5 years? How many weddings do you want? What do you want to charge? And I think that those are all important questions simply because, you want to plan well or experience burnout. And I think that's the biggest thing that, I've come across in weddings when you talk to wedding photographers is kind of experiencing that burnout, especially if I speak to people who have been doing weddings for a long time, like, or they're done weddings, they're like, I'm done with weddings. Is that kind of attitude, which is understandable. Like, it's a very intense and emotional, and it weighs a lot on you when you're a wedding photographer, especially. So, trying to organize your business in a way that you don't have to experience that burnout as bad, and so. Um, that comes down to things like, what are you going to charge when you set those business goals? Is this something you want to do full time? If I were to just do a quick example of, say, here in Maine, like, one of my thoughts is, if you're making around 6 figures, you can make a full-time business out of that with your photography. And that sounds like a lot, but any of us who are business owners know that there's just so many costs and things that go into running your business that's kind of like one of the starting points, I feel like. And so how would you get there? Do you want to shoot 100 weddings a year at $1,000 a piece, or do you want to shoot 10 weddings a year at $10,000 a piece? And for me, the answer would be to try to go towards that goal of shooting maybe 10 weddings a year. I think we're not looking to really get in the money. That's not the point of this conversation. When it comes to connecting with your clients, it's just kind of that starting piece of, for me, going back to not experiencing burnout. If I can build my business in a way that I can do well for my clients and keep myself engaged and loving what I do, because I do love what I do. I love shooting weddings. I love the personal connection and being there on, a person's biggest day of their life. So, but doing that in a way where you can organize your life and not be, um, burned out. If you're shooting 100 weddings a year, I feel like that would be a little bit much, at least for me.
How many
So,
people here currently photograph weddings? We put into chat if you're a wedding photographer or looking to get into wedding photography. And then also, bonus question, how many weddings do you currently photograph a year? That way we can get an idea of who's in our audience, what we're looking to learn here.
So, going back to all that in the start of setting goals for your business is, when you have an ideal client, that's going to go a long way to not having you to force connections, which is what we're looking to kind of talk about and discuss. And I think that can be part of the burnout. It's both overworking, and then if you're working with the wrong people, that's going to be something that's going to be a huge, strain in your life, strain in your business, that sort of thing. I know that if I go back to the beginning of my career, I was just kind of a subcontractor for a larger company, and I'd never intended to even get into weddings. I just kind of fell into the business, and it became full time very quickly. But it went from just getting whatever clients I get to getting to choose my clients and connect with the right people. And I think that that's a huge part of going in the right direction to connecting. So the other thing to think about is that, some personalities don't click, and that's okay. So if we go back to looking towards, clients and who you want to connect with, I did a wedding. I tell this story, like, if you're a client of mine or past client, you've heard me tell this story before, where, I did a wedding where one of the groomsmen had his wedding done by another well-known photographer I know, who's great and is a friend of mine. But when I asked how the experience was, he kind of hated it. It wasn't that he hated the photos. It's that these two personalities didn't click. Like, these aren't people that would spend time together outside of this business relationship, which, of course, depending on the type of photography, that might not always be important if you're doing still objects or, product photography. When you're getting into the business of weddings and families, that's where I think those things are more important. So one of the things I like to say when I'm on chats with prospective clients is, if you like me, you're more going to like your photos. If we go back to that previous story real quick. So that's something I like to say to photographers is, if they like you, they're going to like the photos. If they don't like you, it doesn't matter how good your photos are, because there's going to be that thing that's holding them back, that, there may be, negative feelings, connotations. So when you go from the beginning process of building your business, is start to think about, like, who is my ideal client? What does that look like? And then from there, it's going to make it easier down the road to connect with the right people. Because I think that when we ask these questions among creatives, especially when a lot of us are, struggling to make a full-time business out of these sort of things, um, is, who's your ideal client? And a lot of people might just answer, oh, anyone who's willing to pay me, who likes my work, which is great and something we all want, but not necessarily always going to happen. Or if it happens too much, you're just getting all the wrong kinds of people. And, that's not going to help you in, meeting your goals and living a better life as far as your business goes. So,
Look through a chat here. We've got quite a few people that are doing weddings or pretty low volume, some up in the 60s, most around 5 to 10 per year. Are you wedding photographer exclusive, or do you do other types of portraits as well? Or
are you asking me or the crowd?
yeah, I'm asking you.
Oh yeah. No, I do a little bit of whatever comes my way, as I'm now talking about like doing this, looking one direction, but primarily for me, my business is weddings and families, and that's something I enjoy. So I'm actually sitting in sort of a studio space I built that I don't use because I don't like studio photography. So, for me, it's about being in real environments with real people and connecting. So, I love working with families and kids. We have a similar maturity level, so I work well with kids. And then weddings, it's about having fun and mixing into the crowd. And I think that's something we're gonna touch base on more as we move forward. So, kind of jumping, to the next section from once you kind of have your business goals and the general direction maybe you want to go is your branding. What does your ideal client look like? And I know I just kind of touched base on that, but I think that's an important question. Like, what are the types of people that you want to attract, and what are you putting out there to do that? So for me, I can only speak for myself. So for you, you're going to have to figure out what that is for you, so you can connect. Maybe you're really into pets and animals and have dogs, and you're sharing stuff about your dogs on social media along mixing that with your business. That's kind of up to you, what it is you do. So for me, it's just trying to lean into who I am, and does my brand reflect that? Does your brand reflect that? I think when you're true and genuine to who you are, and that's what you put out there, you're going to attract the people that you're going to more easily click with. So I think, again, you're kind of funneling all this business stuff to get to kind of weed out to get to the clients that you want as far as the end, as like, part of that end result. So,
When you say that you click with somebody, what does that mean? Can you expand on that?
yeah, sure. Not all personalities get along or click. So if we're speaking in a relational aspect when it comes to business, are these people that you would spend, you don't have to be best friends with all your clients. So I'm not saying that. Like for me, going back to weddings, like I truly love the people I get to work with. And by the end of the process, it's like being friends. I'm happy to see them again. I get excited, following them on social media, seeing they're having kids, have them reach back out to do family photos. Like that's just such a joy for me. So if my brand is going in that more personal direction and wanting to have those interactions with past clients and to follow their lives, like it's got to be someone you want to follow, right?
Okay, so we're looking for somebody that you kind of connect with, maybe go out, have a beer type thing with it, if that's what your personality is. Somebody else might be more type A, or more prestigious, or more formal, or very detail oriented, where someone might be more kind of casual, go with the flow type thing. Is that what we're talking about, like major personality types?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's not saying that I don't get a broad spectrum of, client types and personalities. You definitely do. And I've done weddings where leading up to the wedding, it's kind of like, this was a mistake. Maybe this wasn't a great, match, the two of us. Where in the end, it worked out really well because I tend to be very go with the flow. I'm very regimented when it comes to my processes leading up to the wedding day. But that's so that the goal of the day just runs smoothly. We can have fun. And, any of you who do weddings know that nothing generally ever goes as planned. So to be able to have that flexibility is great. So along the same lines, maybe you're serious, political, goofy, dark humor, whatever it is, you lean into those things that are important to you, and just share who you really are, and putting it out there I think really helps attract um, the right kind of people, because for me, I care about everyone I work with, and it's important to me that we have a connection because I want to give them my best. So for me, my brand is, we might have some of the fancier photos, but a lot of it's photojournalism, and I want you to be comfortable in your environment so that I can capture more of the real you. Because, for me, I'm not into as much of the posing and arranging and kind of forcing things. Like, I want the situations we run into to be organic. So my clients that are booking me kind of know that from early on in the process. So that's what they're expecting. So you don't have this clash of um, expectations, I guess you would say. So, like, if I just real quickly jump back to the beginning of my career, and I think most of us have experienced this, that you go to set up for a wedding, and then suddenly you get this the dreaded Pinterest board of you know photos that you don't want to do, or maybe early in the career, like, yeah, that's great. Okay, that's a creative idea because you're all stressed out and you don't know what you're doing yet. But getting later in my career, like, that's the last person that I want to be booking. So if they're better served going to someone that's not me, and that's best for both of us. So that's kind of where we want to land throughout of this process, is that they don't have to be exactly like you, for sure, but you're going to want to be able to connect with them on some level so that you can work through the relationship from start to finish and have it be a positive one. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. And we've got a good kind of related question from Damon. Wants to
Okay.
know if you have like a secret thing that you do to connect with your clients that might not be obvious. So, like, how's your process designed to connect you to your clients?
Yeah, that's a great. I think we're going to jump into that a little bit with some of the inquiries and client experience. But
Okay.
I mean, I don't think anything as far as like tricks, like business tricks. It's really just trying to, for me, cultivate something organically, throughout the process. So, um, kind of finishing up on
The branding.
the branding stuff is, consistency is when you pull up your Instagram feed or your website, does all this stuff look like something you shot? Is this something you did? Is it what you want people to be seeing to attract the right people? I think that something interesting that has been shared by my clients to me personally was, I would joke about, like, having done 120, 80 plus weddings in my career so far. I don't have, like, there's some crazy stories, but nothing like disaster like I'll read about in, message boards on Facebook, in vendor groups, that you're like, wow, I'm glad I wasn't a part of that, like, insane situation. Um, so for me, it's like I've gotten to this point in my career after 10 years that, like, wow, I'm getting all these amazing people that I truly love to work with. How does that happen? And part of it is really that kind of process we're talking about leading up to this, of what are you putting out there? And one of my clients said it to me in the last couple of years was, I joked, I'm like, I haven't really had crazy people that I wouldn't want to deal with, that we'd work terrible together. And they said, oh, well, that's what you put out there. Like, we see what we follow you on social media and the stuff you're sharing in Instagram stories, and your real life, and just goofing off, and what you have on your website. Like, it's not just all strict professional business. We can get a feel for who you are. And maybe you're not comfortable with that. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's no cookie cutter approach to how you want to build your business to attract the right clients. So that's where not everything I'm saying is going to connect with you, and that's fine. But it gives you the direction of, well, what can I put out there to do to essentially have the same results? So I think, time wise, let's kind of jump into the next thing, which would be, inquiries and how do you respond. So this is where we start to get into the process. Like, if we pass the business part, we're getting into how do you start to connect with clients now that you've hopefully attracted the right people and built your business in a way that you can handle all this. How do we start to create those connections, to seal the deal, and live a happy business life going forward? So,
What formats or platforms are you connecting with clients on? Is this like cold calls, emailing, Instagram DMs? Like, how are we getting in those clients, and what forms of communication are you using?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and I was thinking about getting into that, but for me, really, it can vary. So when it comes to sourcing where you're getting your inquiries, I think that could be a whole nother discussion just on business.
Fair enough.
But I think that for me, it's finding me on Google, vendor recommendations, past clients, and social media. That's where my inquiries probably like split come from. I would say for me personally. Um, and I think also once you reach a point in your career after a long period of time, it's a little bit easier. Excuse me, because you've got all those past connections. You've worked with all these vendors, so you've started to build a group of people that you like to work with who like to work with you. So I mean, that's huge. In building any business is that idea of networking and networking with the right people. So yeah, hopefully that answers that. So when it comes to the inquiry process, like first step is how do you respond? Like know your process, and for me, it's different. So here's where you begin to connect with clients. Depending on, let's just go by age, for instance. You get a email comes in, new inquiry. It's the mother of the bride who's reaching out for them. Where do you go? For me, I'm thinking this generation's probably good with phone calls. I mean, I can tell you I've booked quite a few weddings in the last few years from being the only photographer that answers their phone, which admittedly it's really hard to do in this day and age with all the spam calls. And for me, for my own sanity, I have set business hours. So I'm available 7:30 to 5:30 for client calls, everything else. Those are my office hours. So if someone calls me during that time, I'm going to answer the phone. So the same thing talking with parents, you might email back, but maybe I'll give them a call. And that's one way to connect. You're talking, say our generation or younger. Do we like getting phone calls? No, it's like, it's everyone's biggest fear these days. Like, and if you can text it, you text it. And maybe that's how you connect. Cause I'll do that with some clients. I'll have an email come in, and then instead of emailing back, I'll text them back. So I'll be like, hey, this is James from Flax Studios. Thanks for reaching out. Hope you don't mind a quick text. And with some people, that's their main form of communication. So I've just connected in an unusual way, and maybe something that's different than anyone else who's reached back out to them. Because if they've emailed me, say I might have clients that I'm the only person they email. That's awesome. That's ideal. What if it's someone who emails 20 people? How are you standing out in that crowd? For me, it's promptness. I think that's one of the important things. If I get it, even if I'm out of office hours, I'll respond to an email if I'm available pretty much instantly and say, hey, I'm out of the office for the evening, but I'd love to set up a chat with you sometime tomorrow. Let me know what's convenient, that sort of thing. You can do that with via text. And I've done that where you can kind of text and you just kind of a little informal conversation. And it's a way to connect like you would with, one of your best friends. So, that's one option. So creating a connection from the start, I think, is super important, or the clicking with your clients as we're talking about it. And this is most likely how they'll book you. We talk about, like, say, if you go through an interview, a business interview, what do they say? Like, usually you walk through the door, they know within the first minute of you talking. Isn't it something like that, Chris? Does that sound right?
Something like that. Yep.
So I think that's pretty parallel in the universe when you're looking to book someone. This is saying if it's your ideal client. So for me, that's why I want to get on the phone with them. Like, it's hard to create a connection via email. You can, but ultimately you want, like, I never want to book someone who's going to just say, hey, send me a contract. We love your work. Let's do this. Because I don't know if it's a good fit, and I don't want to book someone that's not a good fit, because this is a stressful business to be in, and it's very emotional. So I don't want to connect with the wrong client and just book anybody. So that's where, for me, the inquiry, how you respond to it. And then for me, my goal is to get them on the phone or on a Zoom chat like this as soon as possible. Because that's when we can start talking like this, face to face or on the phone, to just hear about them. So what do you do in that process? And I think that's an important part. Just psychologically, I think we might have the tendency as photographers to want to defend ourselves or say, like, oh, why am I worth what I'm charging, and try to explain, oh, this is the gear I have, this is my awards, blah blah blah. But really for me, it's more about the connection. Like they've already seen my work, they've reached out. They don't care that you've got $35,000 worth of Nikon gear that you're taking to the wedding. All they care is to have nice photos and for my clients to have fun. That's just a funny sidetrack. I actually had a mother of the bride that called me in the last year or two that booked. One of the questions she asked me on the phone, again, being one of the only people that answered, was, "How do you um, what's the word I'm looking for, Chris? Like, how do you justify what you charge?" And I just jokingly responded the way I would. I'm like, "Because I'm the best photographer in the world." And then just pause. Like,
Right.
clearly I don't think that, but I just like had some jokey answer and waited. I just paused and I didn't say anything else. And then she laughed. So and then that question was gone. I didn't even have to answer it. Because it wasn't that important to me. But it also showed my personality. And if it was someone, say, that wasn't an ideal client, they'd have been like, "Wow, you're incredibly rude and unprofessional," and click. That's it. I did not click with that client in the right way, right? So that's where for me, there's all different ways you can approach the inquiry process. But getting on the phone, talking, that's going to be one of the best ways to start. And from the start, this is another thing. I mean, this goes back into business, so I know time wise, we're trying to condense things. But I started more and more selling from the start, and I think that as you become a professional more and more, you have to understand that you set the standard. So like for me lately, this last year, I've really pushed things like wedding albums and prints, not just to make money, but because it's something I truly believe in. Like we've done this work together, and on a wedding day, I've just told your story the best I could do being there. And I want you to have that book that you open up and you look at with your husband or wife every couple weeks. It's all out on the coffee table. You can sit and enjoy it. You can walk past the frames on the walls. Like when we all grew up, going to our grandparents' house, or in our parents' house growing up, like we remember those pictures from our childhood, right? And it's something our generation just has phones that you throw in the water and you lose 100,000 photos, most of which you never care for, as we don't print. So I'm pushing it from the start, from those initial conversations, to kind of set the standard of what to expect. And I think that that's where a lot of this goes with clicking. From when you get to the end of this whole process, is expectations, is being able to meet your clients' expectations. And I think if you do that, you go a long way in avoiding a lot of the headaches that you'll see posted in groups. And I think we're going to get into that a little bit more, but that's kind of one of the biggest things I would say is important in this whole process, is setting expectations. Your clients know what to expect, and you deliver on it, and you deliver on it better than you presented it. So if there's one thing I would kind of keep nailing home, it would kind of be that point. And when let's say you've got through the inquiry process, you've started to connect with clients. I think this is something I missed, is one good way to connect with clients. I found on the phone, I was talking about how don't just get into the details, don't get all businessy from the start, is just have a conversation. Like I'll usually talk to a prospective client for like an hour. And I want to hear about you. So instead of getting into photography, like I don't start my conversations about photography at all. Like I want to hear about them. Tell me about yourselves. What do you like to do? I would say people like to hear themselves talk. It's not the way I mean it to come across, but I'm trying to get information out of you. And sure, you can come to me with your list of 10 questions that you Googled things to ask your potential wedding photographer, but I don't want that. I want to know you, and I want you to know me. Because going back to something I said earlier, when I get to the end of the conversation, I say, "Hey, or somewhere throughout, I'm like, if you don't like me, you're not going to like your photos. So I want to make sure that by the end of this conversation, we get along and you want me to be there, because you're inviting me." And this can apply to families. This doesn't have to be just for weddings, but you're inviting me into something special in your life. You're paying me good money to be there to capture these memories. And sorry, these pop-ups keep distracting me. I keep having to click them down. I want to be able to deliver on that. So I need to make sure that we have a good connection from the start, so that when we get to the end of the process, like everything's gone great. So I think that kind of wraps up my little
So it's
section
kind of
on.
like dating, huh? So you want to make sure that that initial courting phase, that you get along before you step into a contract or something that's got some repercussions to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing because at that point, I feel like at the end of that first conversation, I know immediately, like, I want this person to book with me. I don't want this person. And I'll even ask them that too. Like, how are you feeling? What do you have any questions? Do you have any concerns? Like, what would make you not want to book me? Um, I think that's one of the biggest hurdles to overcome. So you've done that. Like, you know, you're in there. You haven't just talked business, you've talked life. Like I've spent an hour, we've talked about travel, we've talked about your family, where you're from, how you got engaged, what do you and your, future wife or husband like to do together? If it's a family session, what do you guys like to do together? Because if I do a family session, if we just kind of scoot over a little bit, I want to plan a session that we can do something that you have fun because I suck at we know tons of people who are great at posing. Like I suck at posing. That's not my strong suit. So I want to get you comfortable and having fun because that's my ideal client. So yeah, we're going to get this Christmas card photo, but then you guys are just going to have fun. You're going to play at the beach, toss the kids around, get them to giggle, have fun, be yourselves. Like I wasn't there awkwardly taking your photo. You know what I mean? So that's kind of one of those things that's important. And again, I'm clicking having to get rid of these pop-ups. It's crazy. So, I think going back to expectations real quick, that's helped me in other areas of life. So I've kind of taken these processes like, 2020 was not a fun year for any of us if you're a wedding photographer, obviously. And I have a background in carpentry. Long story short, I bought a house, did an Airbnb, and I'm using a lot of these and finding them to be super helpful as I have prospective, guests staying in my houses that I I give them so much information leading up to telling them about my area, about the house, that things that they're going to enjoy, not enjoy, sending them a long like guide of things, so that when they leave, like I meet them in person too, which a lot of guests may not like or whatnot. But the idea is that I've created this connection so that when they leave, they're leaving me 5-star reviews because like, oh, this guest was so nice. He brought left us fresh coffee and met with us in person, answered all our questions. And that's the same thing in many businesses. If you want to be personable, which is what I learned from how I treat people with weddings. So that's where I think that this can be useful across the board, different things. So if we move on, because I think we're going to be pressed for time here as we go forward, is kind of the client experience and how this starts, with booking. And this is what can help set you apart. I think that you don't want to be hands off until the wedding day, of course, if we're talking weddings, unless that's your brand, but I don't think that's a good idea, is again, this expectation and you're the professional. So you lead the clients. So going from the contract, they know from me, like when they're going to get their photos, that kind of thing. And I'm delivering way faster, like contracts, 12 weeks at the end of their wedding day. I'm telling them how far out I think it is. And then I'm delivering faster than that. So everything that you set them up for, try to exceed that. Like if you have a contractor work on your house and he gives you a $10,000 estimate and then does the job for $8,000, guess what? You're super happy. If that bill comes out to be 15 grand, you're not so happy. So it's that same idea. I mean, it's not about the money with weddings, but those expectations of what you're expecting and being able to deliver on those and deliver beyond is going to go a long way with your relationship with your clients. So again, they like you, they're going to like the photos. That's the biggest takeaway. So where do you begin this process? Do we have any specific questions at this point, Chris, that we should pause, or are we good?
Nope, we're good. Let's keep on rocking and rolling.
All right. Everyone's bored to death. Everyone has left. So, where do you, so for me, I like to follow my clients. I think this is a big part of creating a connection. Like I know we've breezed through like the booking process and kind of clicking with your clients. Now they are your clients. So how do you keep that connection going? How do you build on that? For me, I'm good with following on social media if they're comfortable with it. Like, I watch their Instagram stories, message them on occasion. And it's not just part of business, it's that I actually care. And this goes back to early on, we talked about business goals is I don't want 1,000 clients because I can't keep track of 1,000 people and follow their lives. If I have 10 weddings this year, it's not hard for me to follow 10 people and spend a minute a day and just kind of see what they posted on their Instagram stories. And then from there, you can kind of learn things they like, things they don't like, things you have in common, things maybe you should avoid talking about if it's religion, politics, whatever. So that even if you may not personally connect with them on something, you know what you can lean into and maybe what you should, avoid moving forward with the relationship. Um, I think being prompt is a huge part. Always be responsive to your clients. I've seen that a lot lately. And I think this goes back to bad business of people posting in Facebook groups like, hey, the photographer, it's been, 15 weeks and they haven't seen any photos or and they can't get a hold of them. Like, that's bad. Like, that should never happen. You should be accessible to your clients. And if you've so overbooked yourself because you've set up your business poorly, that you're that overwhelmed that you're not even responding to clients, like that's not going to do well in reviews. And that's not going to create that connection because now you come to when you get to delivering, they're already a little irritated with you and that's going to affect the photo. So don't think that the way you carry on with your relationship with your client won't affect the outcome because you could have gorgeous photos. And again, if there's a negative emotion or feeling attached to those, that's really going to hurt you. I know that having so many friends in the business, I've heard so many stories that would relate to this, like stuff like an engagement session where they hated the photos. And it turned out that it's not really that they hated the photos, it's that the couple had a fight on the way to the engagement photos. So that when they look at the photos, all they see is the fight. So all it took was a reshoot for them to be happy. It was never that they were angry at the photographer. It was that they were just had a negative emotion attached to that moment. So that's where building up to a wedding day, like you want to keep things as positive as good and possible so that you can, um, deliver and everything is happy. So I feel like I got to breeze through some of this.
No, just keep going. You're doing great, James.
So offering to help them from the start, I think really helps you in the long run. And if we're talking about like pain posts, like I was just talking about, uh, expectations go a long way in helping you deliver. So if you can start to address things that could be problems later early on, that's going to go a real long way. Some of it you're just going to learn from experience, but if you can learn from others, like see posts or know photographers that ran into this difficult situation, how can you keep that in mind so that you can address it when the time comes up for you? Because it's definitely happened and I've made mistakes myself or responded to things in the wrong way. So you just have to be super careful. For me, the biggest mistake is that I can be really short or like say an email sense, like so much gets lost in translation. That's why I like to talk to people on the phone or a Zoom chat because you just can't get the inflections of what people mean. So I recently had just an interaction that wasn't even bad. I just completely misunderstood what they were asking. So we just didn't click because of a miscommunication. So sometimes we don't want to get caught up in something that's not necessary to be concerned about. So anyway, I think offering to help, what I like to do with my clients is I'm their wedding photographer. I'm not their wedding planner, but from my experience, I can help you plan your wedding day because now we've decided you are my ideal client. So what have my clients liked or not like about their wedding day? And how can I offer that to you as something that you're going to appreciate? Be like, wow, that's a great idea. I never thought of that. Or I was worried about this and now I realize I don't have to be. All those things I think really go together as far as the client experience and making that relationship really kind of go through well. So again, checking in from time to time, gathering info, helping them organize things. These are just kind of wedding day basics. Like I have a family formal template. I ask questions about, is there anything I should be concerned about relationally? Like, do you need to, like, you want to know about parent divorces or, Aunt Becky gets angry at Uncle Lou, whatever, so that you don't create any awkward situations the wedding day that then create, a negative impact on the final product. So I try to know as much as possible about not only my clients, but their families and that sort of thing. Because if you think about it at the wedding, like you don't have to click with everyone, but it's best if you can. So if get heads up on things, that's going to help you on the wedding day. So another thing is, I think I'm going to skip through some of this, but things like reaching out to vendors, helping create other relationships that helps. Because I've also come into situations where two vendors don't see eye to eye or the schedules don't match up. And a client's really going to appreciate you if you've taken the time to dig into their actual wedding day details and make sure that everything's going to work. Make sure that the photo timings, so that you don't get to like, oh, great, let's go out and do sunset photos. And then the coordinator at the venue says, oh, I'm sorry, no, it's time for the dance or the cake cutting. Like that doesn't happen super often. But believe me, I've definitely had it happen. Or you have that rogue DJ who calls something random when you didn't get the heads up. So you were either missing a moment or they're taking a moment away from the couple that you wanted to use because the lighting is perfect outside and you want to go take it. That sort of thing. So sharing expectations, sharing experiences from past clients. I think all of those things, from the technical aspect of early in the client experience, will go a long way to helping you in those things. So let's skip to the wedding day. I realize we got what, about 5-10 minutes?
Yep, we're good. We're good. We had a little bit of a late start, so
okay. Is there any questions before we move on to the wedding day real quick?
What's that?
Are there any questions before we move on to the wedding day real quick?
Nope, just keep on going, keep on trucking.
Okay. So when it comes to the wedding day, remember that you're spending the biggest day of their life with them. And at least for me, I want to be able to fit into those moments seamlessly to do what I do well. Because everything we've talked about, like the biggest thing for me about, clicking with my clients is I want to be like their friend. When I show up to a wedding, I want to jump in with the wedding party and act like I'm one of them. Not just act it, but actually be there. Like there's always that awkwardness when you walk into the guys getting ready, the girls getting ready. But I fit in super quick. I already know I have a good connection. So if I get along with my client, I'm probably going to get along pretty well with their friends because they get along, right? So I think that's a huge thing to think about. So for me, it's, you might get the cool photos with the sunset, the stars, whatever. But I'm looking to get into moments with my clients, and for someone to be able to kind of open up to you emotionally, to be able to share those intimate moments, especially if it's kind of just ends up being the three of you, like the couple and yourself, like they have to be comfortable with you. So everything you've done to the process from booking through preparation to now has led you to, like, you're already on the same page and you're not a stranger. You don't want to be a stranger. You don't want to show up to the wedding day as just like, oh, that's the photographer that we've never talked to until our wedding day. Because that's like, hey, if you're good in the moment and can kind of squeeze your way into the situation, that's great. But it's going to be a lot easier if you're basically already friends. They're excited to see you. Hey, James, come give you a hug, that kind of thing. That's what you're looking for when you show up on the wedding day. At least that's what I'm looking for when I show up. So, simple things, make sure you arrive early. I like to go up, scope things out, set up things. That always impresses clients. Like, oh, are you going to, like, what time do you show up? And are you going to be setting up during like the time we've booked you for? Like, no, you tell me when to show up to getting ready. I'm going to be there probably an hour early to set up my equipment, scope out the venue. I'm going to come say hello, like half hour before we even start shooting, see how you're doing, see how the day is going, just like I was one of your friends. And then, all right, I'll be back in like a half hour to start with this kind of thing. And then go from there. So on the early end of the wedding day, that's good. Being personable to everyone, I think, is great. So, when you want to be courteous and respectful to everyone, especially parents. Sometimes they're paying for it, but you never want a parent on your bad side. And something funny I tell my clients is I've occasionally had people that might have difficult parents or a difficult aunt or uncle, and I know that ahead of time, and I'm kind of given permission. And one thing I like to say is, if you need me to be the bad guy, I've been the bad guy. So ultimately, I'm there for my clients. So I'm not there for their parents. I'm not there for their friends. As much as I want to get along with them, like I said, especially parents, if I can help diffuse the situation or be the bad guy so the bride doesn't have to be like, yeah, we don't want to do this thing that you're pushing for us, I can just be like, hey, I'm sorry, we don't have time for that. So I'm shifting the annoyance at the couple because someone is selfish of what they want on what's not their wedding day. And I have no problem shifting it to me. Like, I'll take that blame. Hopefully I don't get a bad review, but they're not my client, so it's not as important. But except for situations like that, being courteous and respectful are really going to go a long way. And, for me, it's having fun. I like to goof off, joke around a lot. because those are my clients. Going back to the beginning, my ideal client is, pretty laid back, easygoing. They just want to have fun with their friends and family, and they want great photos to memorialize all of that. So for me, I'm comfortable once I'm in my environment, know that I can joke around, have fun. That gets you in easily with the wedding party. And then, it's all fun from there. You can goof off. It's going to be different for everyone. Maybe that's not your style. There's nothing wrong with that. You could be a very serious professional on the wedding day. And maybe you've got those clients who want that. But for me, that's not who I am or the kind of clients that I generally am going to want, because I'm not going to connect and click with them as much.
Do have a
So
question.
yeah.
Yeah, from Suzanne. So she had a bride show up an hour late to the wedding because she couldn't find her shoes. And it cut into the pre-wedding photo time like 30 minutes. What would you have done in that situation?
Oh, that's so hard. I mean, that stuff happens and you just got to go with the flow. The worst story I can tell you, back before I had ideal clients and I was a subcontractor, was a bride who called me on the way to her wedding. She was an hour late to the ceremony, and said, "Where's my rings?" And I'm like, I don't know. You had your rings. She's like, "No, you were photographing them." And then I have photos of her holding them after I had photographed them, but she had just left them at the hotel and blamed me. And that was um, a little bit difficult to overcome, but it was clearly not my fault. But I got the blame for it in that moment, which is scary. And then she was an hour and a half late to her ceremony. So that was crazy person who was pre me setting up my own business and pulling in the right kind of clients. In that situation, you just got to do what you can do. I mean, I I try to plan out with my clients as much as we can do before the ceremony, because I want them to just hang out for cocktail hour, have fun, that sort of thing. So if at that point you connect with them and see what they want to do, a lot of times if you've seriously just run out of time to do some of the things you had planned on, is prioritize. Find out, like, hopefully you already know this is part of the process, but you got to prioritize what you can get. And I do that with couples where we might have a lot of things that are planned and they either don't feel like it or don't have the time. Things go wrong and you got to learn to go with the flow. So I can't remember if that question was specific to like what had to be done, but a quick answer
Yeah,
is just
just lost
to
photo time. How do you handle that? And I think you've answered that one. You say you prioritize, figure out what you can do with your time, and don't dwell on what happened.
yeah. So yeah, it's just tough, and that's what happens. And again, it's kind of going back to expectations. So leading up to the wedding day, I kind of know what's important to some clients. Like in general, my clients don't want to get dragged around doing photos all day. I had one client this year. We had so much time between their ceremony and reception. We had like 3 hours. So we went like up a mountain. We went to the ocean. We went all over the place and got like just more amazing photos than I usually get of couples in an entire year. But in general, I'm doing like 5-10 minutes of photos with a lot of my couples. We're moving quick, and I want to get them to having fun and hanging out with their friends. Um, but that's where knowing your client ahead of time, like knowing, is it, what are they going to want the most? Do they want those 40 family combinations, or do they want photos with the two of them? What are you going to jump on in that moment? And at that point, all you can do is your best, and take your professional experience. And that's where I think that this is where clients will lean on you, that I've experienced, is that when you've done all of this process from start to finish, remember, you're the professional, you set the standard. So when I get into a wedding day, my clients aren't telling me what to do, they're asking me what to do. Or if I have a question, a lot of times we've built such a relationship that they're just trusting my judgment. So in that moment, you might just have to not ask, what do you want? But here, this is what I think we should do. And they're so overwhelmed. They've got so much going on. You know how it is, that hopefully they can just kind of follow your lead and then keep a positive attitude. I think that's the biggest thing. I think this was something I was going to say earlier, or no, I guess this gets back to kind of pain points at the end. But in whatever you do, try to respond to it positive. If it's a negative situation, don't drown in that, because that's going to be contagious. That's going to poison the scene. The only time I can think I did this recently was last year. I was out on the rocks with my brand new 14 to 24 Nikon Z lens. I just spent 2,200 or whatever on it, and it was in my backpack, and my shoulders were running out on the rocks, and it hadn't been zipped up. My assistant hadn't zipped it up, and I threw the bag over my shoulder. Lens came out, smashed on the rocks, and then fell into a tide pool. Brand new lens, and of course, I just like swear out loud, like as loud as I can. I just like yelled, and the whole bridal party's like up on the dock watching me, like just silent. You're like, I'm fine, I'm fine, but except for in extreme circumstances like that, like when things go wrong on a wedding day, like in that situation, be positive, spin it in a positive way, do whatever you can to stay upbeat. Um, and then that'll give your clients reassurance so that you can keep doing your job and you're helping them out, and they're really going to appreciate that. Um, so
So
I think, yeah, go
before we
ahead.
move on to the last little bit, I'm going to give away a couple of prizes and stuff because everybody loves prizes, especially as we're in the holiday time, right? So
Whee!
yep, we'll get some prizes going here, and then we'll kind of come back for some parting thoughts on as we're going. So let me switch out of that one. Hey, okay. I'm going to come up here and want to give again a shout out to American Color Imaging. Thank you so much, guys, especially for the cool prizes we're going to give away. So let's start. We've got a $50 lab credit that we're starting with here. So let's see who's getting our $50 lab credit. And we've got our wheel of names. So we're going to go round, 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 round and see who gets the $50 credit. And that's Tammy Lee is. Awesome. Our next prize that we have.
Yeah, Tammy Lee.
There we go. We've got a $75 lab credit. So let's see who's winning that one. Hey, and we got Justin. Remember Justin, he was actually one of our guests not too long ago on that one about passion projects. So congratulations, Justin. And now we've got our $100 lab credit. So let's see who's winning that one.
Does this go up to $1,000?
I wish. We just need a multiplier on there. There we go. And we got Janet. And if you had CYR in your email address, I didn't have a last name for you. So make sure on the lookout for that. If you didn't win a prize, AC High Background Town is having a special that's exclusive for us right now. If you buy one backdrop, you can get one free. And that's good through the 21st of January. So that does not include the rubber mat flooring, though. So definitely an awesome deal. I will email you the discount code as well in case you haven't jotted that one down. And also want to let you know about some of our upcoming shows that we have up next when we hit in the new year. We've got How to Become a Photographic Pet Whisperer, Hands-on Marketing. We've got Northern Lights, Photographing Northern Lights. That was another request. Looking at your personal art, so making your art personal, and then Old Hollywood Lighting. So those are all upcoming episodes. Registration is live on all of those as well. So be sure to check those ones out. All right, James. So we're coming back. We've done all the housekeeping stuff. We've given away our prizes. What parting thoughts do you have for us? What should we walk away with or start doing immediately?
Yeah. So what do we got for time? 5 minutes?
Yeah, we got a couple of minutes here.
All right. So if anyone has any final questions, if anything good comes up, go ahead and shout those out now, and Chris can pull those up. I think that I didn't quite get to my last points, but if we get to just real quick cover like post wedding, connecting, deliver as quick as possible. I always go way ahead of schedule. Deliver ahead of
So
expectations. What's that?
over delivering?
Not necessarily over delivering, but I guess over delivering, not in the amount of photos, but yeah, in expectations. Excite people, that sort of
They
stuff.
expected 15 weeks. You're doing it in 10 or 12.
Yeah, like my contract is 12 weeks. A lot of times, so at the end of the wedding, give them a hug, get a goofy selfie with them, and then I let them know, like, hey, this is where you're at in the queue. It'll probably be a month. They're like, oh, that's cool, and then it's probably going to be a week or two. That's the goal, is get it out much quicker than I say it's going to be. So, yeah, I think that going back to like as far as simple parting thoughts is, if they like you, they're going to like your photos. So that's an important I know this is like so time wise, but trying to build your whole process that you can connect with your clients in a real way is going to go a long way in them just being thrilled with the final product. So,
You're
you
building your
know,
brand to attract the types of people you want to work with.
oh yeah, for sure. I don't know if there's any specific questions, but
Yeah.
I think
So
a
James,
big a
you do
big
your
thing
own
about
editing?
this is like the best way to avoid conflict is to, you know, address things early on. Don't overthink things. Sometimes there's a lot of miscommunication. Just do your best, and they'll love you. Hopefully.
Do you do your own editing?
What's that?
Do you do your own editing?
Yeah. So this again goes back to style and ideal client. I tell them as part of the contract, I don't change your body. I don't make you look like plastic. I'm very intentional about that. And my style is natural and timeless. So I do almost no editing to my photos. If you look at my work, it's just light color correction, that sort of thing. So I have someone do my color correction and then I edit the photos. It takes me about probably 4 to 8 hours max to edit an entire wedding.
Okay, we need to have a conversation about that another time. That's quite impressive.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, no, I'm very quick, but again, my process is that I want things to look natural and timeless, and the more you do on the technical end saves you work later.
You must be doing something right to be a GIA finalist and be on the cover of a PPA magazine, and definitely an award-winning photographer. So, holy cow! Thank you so very, very much, James. This has been very enlightening, and I think we've all got definitely some nuggets of wisdom here that can apply to your wedding photography business or just general working with clients. Might even need to take the wedding out of the title on this program, as I think you've got some good timeless advice there.
Yeah, no, thank you. I really appreciate that, and thanks for having me, and thanks everyone who's been here through this. But yeah, that's kind of the hope is that really you can kind of take these, a couple of those nuggets, and you can apply that to in all sorts of ways, whether it's photography or something else.
Well, that's a wrap for tonight then. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone, and sharing your holiday evening. I know it's a busy and chaotic time of year, but I've definitely enjoyed hanging with you. And James, it was a pleasure as well. So thank you so very much, everyone.
Yes, thank you, everyone.